Young Thug's darkest secret just leaked from jail, and it shook the entire hip-hop world. When Young Thug spoke about Ghana, fans realized the trust was gone forever. One jail call, one wrong word, and Young Thug's whole legacy was questioned. Imagine trusting your closest friend for life, only for him to expose you. That's exactly what happened to Young Thug. Did Young Thug really betray his own crew, or was this all a carefully planned trap? One of Young Thug's closest collaborators was Ghana. The two of them had a string of hit songs together and enjoyed major success on their label. Around the same time Thug was arrested, Ghana also faced legal trouble, and fans have long wondered what their relationship looks like today. During a recent conversation, Thug's energy hinted at the usual competitiveness between artists. "You got more hits than me and Kendrick, bro," he joked, emphasizing the ongoing rivalry and mutual respect in their careers. Young Thug recently sat down with Bank for a candid interview, diving into his jail calls, legal troubles, and his complex relationship with Ghana. The discussion was highly anticipated, as fans and industry insiders hoped to get clarity on the murky events surrounding the YSL RICO case. But almost immediately, inconsistencies surfaced. Thug stated that Ghana had taken the first plea deal in the case, yet public records show it was actually DK, the co-founder of YSL. This small but significant detail immediately made viewers question Thug's perspective and reliability. What really stood out, however, wasn't just the factual error, it was Thug's overall mindset leading up to the interview. He appeared defensive, frustrated, and at times distracted, giving the impression that his mental state was far from settled. Scholars and commentators noted that he frequently brought up other artists, like Drake, and even blamed the lack of support from certain collaborators during his incarceration. Thug often referenced his mother's passing as an explanation for his emotional state, yet those around him interpreted this as partly a deflection from the larger issues at hand. During the interview, Thug also spoke about his artistic priorities. He insisted that the music he made was for his projects and not dependent on the inclusion of other stars. For example, he described a Metro Boomin track he had worked on extensively, saying that it didn't matter whether Drake was on the song, what mattered was that the project itself was strong. He detailed the countless hours spent mixing and perfecting the album, highlighting his dedication to his craft despite the personal and legal turmoil he faced. As the conversation continued, the topic shifted to his complicated relationship with Ghana. Thug became visibly emotional, reflecting on the loss of his twin and the sense of betrayal he felt. He claimed that signing a plea deal could have put him in prison for life, and that a single signature on a piece of paper had enormous consequences. His vulnerability in these moments contrasted sharply with his earlier bravado, revealing the human side of someone often seen only through headlines and rap lyrics. The drama escalated when Wack 100 released a video showing Thug admitting to infidelity with his longtime partner, Mariah the Scientist, shortly before his arrest. The clip quickly went viral, adding fuel to the fire of public scrutiny. Thug addressed the video, emphasizing that the content was old and already a matter of the past, yet it still contributed to the growing perception of chaos surrounding him. In response to the leaks and accusations, Thug released a track titled Closing Arguments, in which he addressed snitching allegations directly. He explicitly called out those he believed were the true informants, while defending his own actions as attempts to protect his brother and himself. Lyrics from the song indicated that he felt trapped by circumstances beyond his control, but had acted with intention rather than betrayal. This release reignited debate across the hip-hop community, with some defending Thug's decisions and others condemning him for perceived disloyalty. Tensions within the YSL crew deepened as leaked jail calls revealed Thug discussing other members' actions, including references to Lil Durk and Lil Baby. Rumors swirled that he might have shared sensitive information, though supporters argued that his words were misinterpreted and that he did not directly implicate anyone in criminal activity. Nevertheless, the public perception of Thug's loyalty began to fracture, with some questioning whether the man who once seemed untouchable in Atlanta's rap scene had lost his influence. Meanwhile, industry insiders like DJ Academics and Charleston White weighed in, analyzing the timing and intent behind the leaks. They suggested that Ghana had strategically held onto certain recordings, releasing them at moments that maximized impact and public attention. This fueled the idea that the drama surrounding Thug was being carefully orchestrated, creating an environment in which trust and loyalty were constantly under scrutiny. Further complicating matters, Thug's role in managing YSL from behind bars became clearer. Despite the legal chaos, he remained involved in label decisions, including Ghana's contract. Reports revealed that Thug would continue to earn royalties from Ghana's music, showing that even alleged betrayal could not override business considerations. Future, another major figure in the industry, reportedly refused to collaborate with Ghana, but also didn't sever ties entirely, reflecting the pragmatic approach often seen in music business dealings. Thug's legal situation also highlighted the personal toll of these conflicts. Friends and collaborators, like YSL Woody and Rowe, spoke candidly about how they had been manipulated or blindsided by Thug in the past. Woody admitted to defending Thug without proper legal support, acknowledging that his loyalty may have been exploited. Rowe, meanwhile, claimed that his own career suffered due to Thug's influence, including deliberate attempts to isolate Ghana professionally. These revelations painted a portrait of a high-stakes environment where decisions were driven by both survival and strategy, not just loyalty or friendship. Throughout it all, civilian fans largely remained indifferent to the snitching debates. Commentators noted that most listeners care primarily about the music, not the street politics behind it. Whether someone was loyal or disloyal in jail mattered far less to the broader audience than the quality of the songs they were releasing. This contrast between street perception and civilian interest underscored the complex dynamics of fame, loyalty, and business in the rap world. In the end, Young Thug's interview and the subsequent leaks offered a rare glimpse into the personal and professional pressures he faced. From legal battles to label management, from family loss to public scrutiny, the saga revealed a man navigating a treacherous landscape where trust is fragile, loyalty is tested, and every decision carries enormous consequences. The story also highlighted a broader lesson about perception. In the music industry, actions are interpreted differently by insiders, fans, and civilians alike. And what seems like betrayal on one side can be seen as strategy or survival on another. In the discussion, Young Thug also expressed frustration about not receiving help from Drake while in jail and missing out on Metro Boomin's album. Using his mother's passing as an explanation, he said, "You're Drake. Go talk to the president to get my brother out." Leaked jail audio revealed even more, showing Thug's fierce determination about his music. He emphasized that a song's worth wasn't defined by big features. He was confident in Metro's album even without Drake. The rapper's team highlighted the sheer volume of work Thug put into Metro Boomin's album, mixing songs repeatedly and ensuring everything was perfect. Yet, Thug's personal grief, his mother's death, remained a core reason he slowed down musically. Despite this, he was upfront about excuses versus reality. Grief was part of it, but his true drive was creative control and loyalty to his peers. Tensions rose when Wack 100, a manager close to Thug, released a video exposing Thug's past mistakes, including infidelity involving Mariah the Scientist. Thug acknowledged the leak, but pointed out the timing was off, saying the footage was old and taken out of context. Tensions rose when Wack 100, a manager close to Thug, released a video exposing Thug's past mistakes, including infidelity involving Mariah the Scientist. Thug acknowledged the leak, but pointed out the timing was off, saying the footage was old and taken out of context. The night before the bank interview dropped, Thug released a track titled Closing Arguments, responding to snitching allegations. He directly called out those responsible and defended himself, clarifying that he had never betrayed his crew. He rapped about the situation. "I did what I did, trying my best to help my brother. I got no regrets." This sparked a reaction from YSL Mondo, who claimed Thug's actions contributed to the YSL RICO case. In response, Thug referenced a specific jail call revealing that Ghana was actually the reason the case escalated to a RICO investigation. He explained that the government labeled YSL a gang and used actions from certain individuals to justify the case, but that didn't reflect the full reality of who committed crimes. The controversy quickly spread across the music industry. Fellow artists, including 6ix9ine, weighed in. He criticized the public's reaction, pointing out inconsistencies in how fans and rappers judge Thug versus others. He emphasized that the legal process and rights, like the right to remain silent and access to an attorney, often get overlooked in these heated discussions. Through all this, the story paints a picture of Young Thug navigating loyalty, grief, music, and public scrutiny. His relationships, especially with Ghana, remain complicated, and the narrative around the YSL RICO case continues to spark debates about responsibility, loyalty, and truth in hip-hop. No amount of interviews or new music can undo what Young Thug did in that interrogation room. The event sparked confusion and tension from Atlanta to New Orleans, leaving fans and collaborators questioning what really happened. Thug himself admitted he wasn't always sure who was involved. Names like Roscoe came up, but even he seemed uncertain about the details. Ysel Mondo, a close associate, responded quickly to the leaked snitching videos. In his view, Young Thug was pushing a rat narrative even after people like Roscoe had already served time and stayed quiet. Mondo called out Thug for continuing to spread the story online, saying it was manipulative and even brainwashing younger fans who were looking for guidance. He emphasized the sacrifices made by those who kept quiet, noting that Roscoe spent 10 years behind bars while Thug's public statements painted a different picture. Roscoe eventually came forward to defend himself, insisting that he never snitched on Thug. His comments, while supporting Thug, also highlighted how the system and selective PR can manipulate narratives. Even after this, tension remained, particularly when Thug publicly called out Lil Durk from jail. Questions arose about whether Thug had shared information regarding Durk's team during his interrogation and jail calls. Thug had previously invested in Durk's career, even sending resources like Brian Steele to help him, making the accusations feel like a betrayal. His sister explained that some of the online attacks on Thug were opportunistic. People knew he couldn't return to Atlanta, so they pushed narratives about him being a snitch. Meanwhile, fans began noticing a pattern. Snitching audios were released strategically. Academics reported that Ganana had been holding onto these jail calls and chose the right time to release them, seemingly to highlight Thug's actions and pit people against each other. Ganana's team may have even leaked the recordings to fan pages, using legal channels available to defendants without needing a Freedom of Information request. Some of these recordings revealed personal moments too, like Ganana talking to a loved one about coming home soon. Thug even had his lawyers review some of Ganana's calls, suggesting that both sides were monitoring each other. This carefully timed release of audio added a new layer of intrigue, confirming suspicions about how the leaks were being managed and leaving fans to decipher who was really controlling the narrative. Through it all, the saga has exposed the complex mix of loyalty, betrayal, and strategy within the YSL crew. Names, actions, and intentions remain under scrutiny, but one thing is clear: the story is far from over, and every move is being watched. News outlets recently reported a leaked jail call from Young Thug, where he allegedly called QCP a rat and spoke about working with Lil Baby. The clip drew attention because it echoed moments that had happened in court, making fans question Thug's loyalty. Social media erupted as people debated whether he had betrayed those closest to him. The leak seemed to frustrate Young Thug immensely. On Instagram Live, he went off, addressing the people he felt were attacking him, including those pretending to flaunt wealth online or posting fake images of him. He called out people claiming they had more hits than him or Kendrick, mocking their bravado while highlighting his own struggles, like a house he couldn't finish paying off. Soon after, more leaked audios began circulating. One recording captured a conversation between Thug and 21 Savage while Thug was in jail, discussing how other rappers had dissed Ganana upon his release. Thug emphasized that he hadn't aired anything publicly or told anyone, underscoring how information was being twisted online. A viral tweet summed up the public perception. Young Thug came out of jail, burnt down bridges, released zero good music, and now got exposed for being a rat. Tough scenes. This prompted reactions from voices like Charleston White, who claimed he was determined to make Thug face consequences for years of disrespect and manipulation. White promised he would dismantle Thug's influence and reputation, warning other artists to distance themselves. Leaked clips from the interrogation room further fueled the drama. In one, Thug says, "Promises. I made promises. Anything you want to know, I'll tell you. Just don't tell the world." What was supposed to be a private discussion ended up public, igniting a wave of analysis and commentary online. This led to a massive Instagram live session featuring Ro, 6ix9ine, DJ Academics, and Wack 100, where they broke down the leaks and tried to clarify the truth. Thug had never explicitly turned Wham or others against anyone, but fans and insiders were piecing together the narrative based on what leaked. The discussion highlighted how difficult it is to separate fact from speculation in hip-hop politics. Tekashi 6ix9ine weighed in, saying that someone was clearly hiding the truth, and the live conversation had widespread agreement. Wack 100 also confirmed much of what was being revealed, painting a picture of Thug as someone whose explanations and excuses for his music and behavior were no longer enough to shield him from scrutiny. Even with Ganana's role being clarified, Thug's public image took a hit. He returned home, tried to explain himself, but critics insisted he could no longer hide behind excuses or manipulate the narrative. The saga illustrated how, in today's hip-hop world, private actions can quickly become public and reputation can crumble as fast as it's built. Rumors and controversies continued to swirl around Young Thug, Ghana, and the YSL crew, creating an atmosphere where speculation often overshadowed facts. At the heart of the drama was one question fans couldn't stop asking. If Ghana had allegedly snitched, why was he still signed to YSL? For many, this seemed like a contradiction. How could a crew built on loyalty and street principles continue to do business with someone accused of betrayal? The situation left a lot of fans confused and the streets divided. Industry insiders, however, offered a different perspective. DJ Academics, one of the most prominent voices in hip-hop commentary, explained that Young Thug was still receiving royalties from Ghana's music. Even while sitting behind bars, Thug reportedly maintained significant influence over label decisions. To those who understand the music business, this wasn't about loyalty or morality, it was about money. Cutting Ghana off entirely would mean cutting off a stream of income, and with legal fees piling up, every dollar mattered. Ghana staying on the label ensured that profits continued to flow, regardless of public perception. This dynamic highlights a truth often overlooked by fans. The music industry runs on contracts and revenue, not personal feelings. Removing an artist from a label isn't as simple as tearing up a piece of paper. There are legal agreements, financial stakes, and long-term deals at play. In Ghana's case, his commercial success was undeniable. His projects continued to chart, his fanbase remained loyal, and streaming numbers spoke louder than any street debate. From a business standpoint, keeping him signed was the logical choice, even if it appeared messy from the outside. Still, the decision carried weight within the culture. Future, for example, reportedly refused to record with Ghana after the allegations, but also stopped short of completely cutting him off. This middle ground approach reflected how many in the industry were handling the situation. They might distance themselves publicly to protect their image, but they wouldn't fully burn bridges if money was involved. In hip-hop, reputation matters, but business often wins in the end. Behind the scenes, conversations with the 300 Entertainment and Atlantic Records teams suggested that Ghana's contract might eventually be shifted. Some speculated that he would be quietly moved away from YSL while still ensuring Thug and the label collected royalties. This would allow Thug to benefit financially without appearing to endorse Ghana directly. Such moves are not uncommon in the music world, where perception can be just as important as the music itself. For the fans, though, the situation remained frustratingly unclear. Street-oriented listeners continued to debate whether Ghana's actions disqualified him from being part of YSL, while casual listeners cared far less about the politics. As long as the music kept coming, most fans were satisfied. This divide between the streets and the mainstream audience underscored a larger reality. In hip-hop, loyalty and betrayal often look different depending on where you're standing. In the end, the swirling rumors showed just how complex loyalty, money, and survival are in today's rap industry. What looked like betrayal on the surface could, behind the curtain, simply be business. Future reportedly refused to record with Ghana, but he also wouldn't drop him entirely. Conversations with the 300/Atlantic team suggested that Ghana's contract might eventually be shifted, removing him from YSL officially while still allowing Thug and the label to collect earnings. The music business, as always, came down to money, not just loyalty. The drama escalated as YSL Woody warned Lil Baby and 21 Savage to stay out of Young Thug's legal and personal issues. Ghana hadn't done anything wrong, Woody emphasized, and anyone getting involved risked being dragged into the chaos. Thug himself had even told Lil Baby to focus on his own career, keeping out of the situation entirely. This warning had an effect. 21 Savage unfollowed Young Thug on Instagram, listening to Woody's advice. Academics reported that Woody admitted he had been manipulated by Thug in the past, even defending him without getting legal support in interrogations. Woody acknowledged the blind loyalty he'd given, realizing later that Thug should have ensured everyone around him was taken care of legally. Ro, another rapper, also claimed his career suffered because of Thug. He said Thug had manipulated others to cut Ro off and had painted Ghana as a snitch to ruin his reputation. Ro accused Thug of calling other rappers during his time in jail, telling them to avoid Ghana to further damage his career. Thug responded, arguing that Ro's situation was different. He said Rowe had actually implicated people who had been arrested, while Thug's actions had been an honest mistake, misleading authorities to show he wasn't in conflict with Lil Wayne's team. Thug emphasized that no one ended up locked up because of what he said, suggesting that, if anything, he helped protect his friends. Academics summed up the controversy, noting that the rap industry often judges snitching based on personal relationships. If the person is liked, fans will excuse them. If not, they'll be labeled a snitch. In this case, the consensus seemed split. But one thing stood out. Thug hadn't actually caused anyone to be arrested, his words were strategic, and he appeared to be protecting others while navigating a dangerous legal landscape. In the end, the saga highlighted the complexity of loyalty, business, and perception in hip-hop. What looks like betrayal on the surface might just be survival and strategy behind the scenes. This really ties into the whole Gunna snitching situation. Even though he allegedly ratted, many people didn't seem to care. His music was just too good. For regular fans, loyalty in the streets often matters less than the quality of the music. As one commentator explained, most civilians aren't focused on snitching at all. They're just here for the art. People listen to King Von or others not because they condone crime, but because the music resonates. The drama around who's a snitch and who isn't? That's mostly a street debate. Fans outside the scene are largely spectators. Right now, the streets are full of tension. Everyone's trying to figure out who's real and who isn't, which makes it feel like a live snitch-off. For outsiders, it's compelling to watch, but ultimately, they just enjoy the music and the spectacle.